look, we will be getting into the second game of the night in the Capital One circuit, but this time between Gr8B8M8 and NeverLucky. Let's see. I don't know exactly what the standings are right here. So it looks like Gr8B8M8. I believe Gr8B8M8 is 2-2 right now because they played another game last night. Yeah, sorry, Fashi. I was trying to look around my microphone, so my mouth got really close real quick. While I was trying to look at the screen. But I believe... Can we start? I want to play Overwatch. Electric. Wanting to start this game. I have so many chat things open. Apparently that was ZX Madness's first game on Fiora, so that's pretty cool. And speaking of Fiora, she is instantly banned with Darius, so... yeah, responding with the Darius ban, and the Viger comes out. Gangplank is a very standard red side ban. You usually want to get that out of the way with Elise. We'll see if a Tahm Kench ban comes out also, or a something a little... We saw Lulu banned in the last game. She's fairly strong, but... And actually, Brand getting banned. That does rhyme. So, GBM, I do believe, is pretty comfortable on that Brand. Actually, let me throw up the spoiler tags. Oh, gosh. Alright, there it is. It was lagging for a second, so... looks like I couldn't. And there is the Elise Sin Hover. Elise was banned, so the other Tier A jungler in the current meta would be Rek'Sai. Although if Lee Sin is still probably right under those two if you want to go for it. Very strong early game pressure, and if you are comfortable on it, you're just so maneuverable around the jungle and in team fights, so pretty much a staple champion. Echo actually being first pick, so the Echo Cinderhulk jungle was nerfed a couple patches ago, so he scales more with ability power instead of having a lot of the base damages, where a lot of junglers would just go tank Echo, and because he had such high base damages, you'd be able to simply get by with that damage. But, yeah, it looks like he will be going for that first pick. Echo's a very strong champion for counter ganking, just because you can aim the parallel convergence more easily when they're not that far away. We'll see if they pick something in the top lane that can be used as a primary engage, or if they go for a Sivir Ashe bottom, which would be the... Also, Kalista is up. I forgot to mention that. That is a ban-worthy champion as well. A lot of times you'd see that ban on either side, really, depending on what you want to first pick. And Isval, I'm gonna lock in that Thresh. Looks like they do go for the Thresh Jinx bottom lane, looking like they want to save their counter picks in their solos if they can. And a Tahm Kench being hovered with the Ashe, so I do really like that lane because Ashe will allow Tahm Kench to get in there pretty deep to get 3 stacks off and devour the enemy. But if you do get caught out, Ashe can get devoured, or Tahm Kench can devour Ashe rather, to get out of there as well. I do think I prefer the Kalista Kench bottom lane just because you can save each other, which gets really trolly, but Ashe is still fairly good if Psycho Bear's not really, or whoever their AD carry is, if they are not that used to playing the Ashe lane, or playing a Kalista around with the team, just because he is a very interesting champion, or a very unique champion in terms of mechanics. Going for the Ashe will still give you that engage potential. That does offer a lot of options for the rest of the team. Also, we saw in the last game between I believe it was Team 10 and Team Sexy Mid. Where Team Sexy Mid ran the Tahm Kench, and in the laning phase, when one lane was getting ganked for the red team, Tahm Kench could just use his Abyssal Voyage and get over there like a pseudo teleport, and that allowed their mid lane to kind of forego going on for that teleport on the mid side in terms of the lane pressure at least. Now later on in the game, they had some issues with split map pressure, but Tahm Kench still gives you that huge ganking range and roam potential. They're actually hovering Kog'Maw Evelynn, which would be very interesting. If you're going for a Kog'Maw Jinx, you'd really want a lot of disengage with your team. Although Evelynn and Thresh aren't the best champions for that. Obviously, with Thresh, you can use your Dark Passage to get one person out of there, and hopefully Evelynn can get a multi-man ultimate to slow everyone, but kind of interesting. I think I might have rather seen a Gragas instead of the Evelynn, but we'll see what they decide to do for the top lane to pair up with that. The Lulu is still open, so you can still run a Juggernaut or Jugger Jinx composition. Keep that in mind for the red team. And that would really round out their composition in terms of, just giving them additional wave clear, as well as such a safe top laner. Usually, if you're going for a Jugger Jinx or Juggernaut composition, you want to get Lulu first, because if the pick ban phase goes awry, you can still flex that around to any lane you want. Even the support lane. Lustboy has played it this year. I am Katowice, but looks like GBM does lock in that Rundle, and Mechlamax going to be on that Lux. So a lot of damage coming out from the solo lane for blue team, and you do have your engage with the Ashe, and you can follow that up with the Echo and Rumble Lux. So pretty decent team for blue side. They just don't have the best AoE disengage. They have some zoning. They have zoning tools through that Echo, and the Rumble, but not really the best. Really, they're pretty reliant on the Ashe or maybe an Abyssal Voyage behind the enemy team to start fights if they start falling behind, and that is going to be very important to see if Ashe can land her arrows against a very strong siege and poking composition. Ooh, I'd really like to see a Kindred, since we have only seen a couple games with those. T Park saying this game seems familiar. Tahm Kench, Ashe, baby. Although Tahm Kench and Ashe were on the opposite sides of the team last time, so looks like Vom locks in the Hecarim. The Hecarim. But now that we've seen a bit of a rise again in the carry top laners with Fiora, Gangplank, Riven, Hecarim is also pretty strong. I did mention Purple Team had pretty poor engage, but Hecarim rounds that out fairly well. He does not have really the peel that someone like a Lulu might want, but he does give you a big presence in the team fights. And if you can get some great flanks off with Hecarim and Evelynn together, Kog'Maw Jinx do so much AoE damage that if Purple Team keeps the warding up on the flanks of blue side, they can try to go for some of those flanks. And looks like they do lock those in and get into game, so I'll take off these spoiler banners so we can talk about these summoner spells. Tahm Kench, interestingly, goes for the Exhaust, and Exhaust is something that I think works better for Tahm Kench than other supports, just because you really want to be able to get onto the enemy and get all your stacks off. So running with that summoner spell, that will lose them some of that early game pressure that they might be able to use against Jinx Thresh, but it will help in the later stages of the game, especially if Hecarim is diving onto the Ashe. He really needs some way to peel that off of him. And Lex going for the barrier, so just a combat summoner. I might have preferred to see her go teleport. Kog'Maw doesn't bring the most kill pressure in the lane, but if she's a little worried that Evelynn can get pretty slippery around the middle lane around the wards because you have to buy pinks. Getting the barrier might save her in that regard, and we'll keep an eye out in that mid lane if Lux does save herself with that summoner spell. But if she doesn't really use it that much, it might have been better to go for that teleport. Now, that being said, because Lux is a mage that really wants to stay far back, and she has a semi-global ultimate anyways, the teleport isn't going to be as impactful as on someone like a Rumble or a Hecarim who, once again in the fight, bam, they want to be right in the middle of the action. So Lux would probably prefer just to roam with the team regardless. But Kog'Maw goes for the cleanse on the opposite side, which is kind of interesting because there's not that much, well, I say there's not that much single target lockdown, but they do have the Asho, the Devour, and the Binding. So once you get into the team fight stage, that'll be pretty helpful, but in terms of Echo and Lux ganking you, you can usually stay out of range, but again, same thing. If that decides to prove to be helpful in fights, that will be pretty decent. Because pretty much all of blue team's lockdown is essentially single target. I mean, the Lux Binding does go through people, but with everyone pretty much except Echo and Rumble, the Devourer and the Arrow are the main lockdown tools for the blue team, which is Gr8B8M8. Now, 15 seconds into the game, I do want to say that I believe purple team scales a little bit better into the later stages of the game, and especially with Rumble, you might get a little bit slightly earlier power spikes. Hecarim will probably start with a Hex Drinker and then build it into a Trinity Force or Mercury Treads with Home Guards if he really wants to do some early fights. But all Rumble really needs is level 6, and even if he doesn't have his double penetration boots and the Haunting guys, he can still do decent amount of damage in the early dragon fight. So we'll see if blue team makes use of that. And alright. Oh, and the team names are actually stuff from the old game, so I'll change that real quick. Gr8B8M8. This does take a little bit of effort to spell. And NeverLucky. We'll see if they do get lucky with this game. Getting some of those Dinks rockets out would be pretty helpful. And here we go. Oh, whoops. That is not what I wanted to do. Alright, well, I will deal with that later. Right now, I'll just keep the names up there so you all can see them. Here we go into the game, and pause comes out right now. It's getting a little bit hyped up for this. Fortunately, GBM is taking a dump. Are you kidding me, buddy? Oh, man. Classic, he always does this. I do think I remember him doing this, seeing him play in the past. GBM needs to... We had time before the game started if he wanted to, but fortunately, rip the butthole is what Thresh says. Yep, this is not very uncommon. Looks like Tom Kench is the first one out of the gates to buy his items because no one else on his team even has that yet. So they have a slight item advantage right now if they begin fighting in the next minute. Not in the next minute, in the next 2 seconds, Tom Kench will be able to use his biscuits to overpower them. Alright, looks like he is back, ganked by Mom. Thank you for returning, and I hope that your visit to the bathroom lands was pleasurable. Alright, here we go. Game has been unpaused. Remember last semester, Valm with the bathroom breaks? I don't really remember them. Every time, 5 minutes every game. That's come on, Valm. Oh no, Tom Kench, you need to buy your trinket. You weren't able to do that before the game started. Now he's looking at his inventory saying, oh, whoops. Bit of a mistake there. And looks like blue side is going to be spreading out from the early looks of this. to just get some decently safe ward coverage. I think red team just going to do the same. They do get an early ward out. I do always like to mention that if you put down your warding trinket before the 1 minute mark, the cooldown for that is actually 120 seconds at level 1. So you should have your ward up again at the 3 minute mark, which is when junglers can really start to try and gank after full clears. Electric showing off that CLG icon. I appreciate it, man. I still have faith in CLG. They did recently change out Pobelter for Huhi in the mid lane. Not really related to his world's performance according to some sources, but I guess we'll never know. I like Huhi. He speaks French, so that's kind of cool. He lived in France for a while. Now, Kog'Maw. I didn't really talk about the skins so far, but it looks like red team actually has 5 skins on them, so a great synergy with Skintimidation. They have the Rainbow Unicorn Attack Hecarim, the Human Evelyn. I don't remember exactly what that one's called. Deep Sea Thresh, the Fireworks Jinx, the Lunar Festival, I believe. Battlecast Kog'Maw even. So pretty exciting stuff on the red side. They will give the Grump over to the 80 carries after taking the Smite buff. And Gank My Mom actually does not start with that 2v1 strategy. Just going to be happy to farm out the wave and get it the natural way. I think that's a lot of times that is because Rumble's Flame Spitter does deal AoE damage, so it's a little more difficult to secure all the... you also don't want to accidentally take the buff, but we'll see Hecarim get that level 2 right away. Gank by Mom, just going to do his best to hit it. I think he hits level 2 right here. Yep. So, not too much of a difference. Rumble does lose out on a little bit of gold, but he will have his teleport if he wants to go back fairly early. So, we'll see if anything comes out of that. And now both sides of the bot lane have level 2, and they're pushed fairly evenly. So, obviously, it's more difficult for Tompkins to get in there. Rumble, using his Flame Spitter Harass, this is pretty much what the laning phase is going to be for the first few levels until Hecarim can try to get a Sheen Power Spike or something to trade back with Rumble. But going to be using plenty of pots from that level 1 2v2-man jungler start. And Ash Tompkins is going to be playing a little farther back. Jinx does have superior range using Pow Pow. So, going to put a little bit of pressure on the lane. Death Sentence comes out, but does not land. And actually, here comes both the junglers to the top side of the lane. I don't think they saw Echo go in, but obviously, GBM does not see Evelyn either. Who's going to pull the trigger on this? Is either of them. In terms of fighting power, Echo really wants Evelyn to engage first, but... and actually, here he goes. He does get a stun on the ball. No, Evelyn comes in, but it's a second or two too late. Very well played by the blue side. And now, K-Bone going to try to flash out of there, but Evelyn is too quick for that. He probably should have saved his flash. First blood goes to the jungler, but Evelyn gets a return kill. So, pretty much even in gold. 100 gold difference, which is actually exactly what we see up there. And in the mid lane, Lux going to be falling down a little bit in CS to her Kog'Maw counterpart. And now Nightcrawler actually stays around to try to get the CS, but so is Evelyn. The teleport forced to come out onto the lane minion just to get more pressure and prevent Electric from trying to all-in dive him. So Rumble forced to burn that. He will have extra cooldown on his teleport spell. So we'll see if Hecarim tries to abuse that. Since he did get the teleport level 2, it is still on cooldown, but that's not really an issue since the lane was pushed out anyways. You don't really want to spend your teleport to get to a lane that's pushed against you, or pushed in your favor, as in pushing against the enemy turret. And Valm just trying to CS, man. Leave him alone. He's getting bullied so much. GBM buys that Amplifying Tome with that first blood money. And even though Valm returns with a longsword, it's really not a lot. And now you can see in the mid lane, Kog'Maw gets a little and his wards are not up. So Nightcrawler gonna try to gank again! Cleanse actually comes out, gonna save Kog'Maw's life. So very useful in that fight. Good Dark Passage. Jinx grabs it at the perfect time. Speedy Turtle gonna try to get away here, but he has to leave his AD carry. No, he doesn't. Devour was not used yet, so nice job holding onto the cooldowns. Instead of trying to use them earlier, he gets Ashe out of there, and that is a trade that they still lose, but at least they didn't give over any kills. And Fionson actually gets exhausted here. Is the Nightcrawler going to be able to get it off? No, he gets hooked! His threat's going to try to go in. Tahm Kench devours yet again. Friends, this is why Tahm Kench is such a contested pick here. Meanwhile, Evelynn, taking advantage of the fact Tahm Kench is in the bottom lane, actually puts a deep pink ward in the enemy jungler and takes some of those camps. So, nice response by her. Pretty instantaneous. Gonna take the Gr8B as well, and Echo really hasn't gotten anything out of that, and as a result, Evelynn is amassing a 6 CS lead. In the top side, Hecarim is continuing to get shoved out here, but, well, not shoved out, but harassed down. However, he is still even in CS. He's still basically even in CS, so not anything too huge at the moment. Here comes Evelynn. Is Electric going to be able to go for this? Well, I mean, he's able to go for it, but are they going to be able to make it work? They don't have that much lockdown against Rumble. A great flank. She actually is able to come behind King by Mom. They're both level 6, and a good equalizer comes out. Kind of prevents him from going in. Oh, man, he actually still goes while the equalizer's off. Mistimed that just barely. It's just going to be a double kill. Evelynn waits for for Rumble's passive to wear off, and so he's not silenced anymore. He gets the double kill, Hootie style, but Kog'Maw comes in for the Spittle cleanup. I guess more of an ooze cleanup. The caustic spittle, I don't even know if he used that. But Insight picking up 1 kill. We'll see if he's able to use that to bully out Lux in the lane. And unfortunately for Lux, she didn't really follow Kog'Maw's roam. They had much superior ward coverage in here, so Lux might have not even have been that aware of what was going on. But to be fair, by the time Lux would have gone up there, there wouldn't really be anything to get from that because she didn't roam initially, and Rumble was able to 2v1. So I lied. Lux not really needing to roam there. Just shoving the lane, getting some harass on the turret, and catching up in CS a little bit. Now, Fionson and oh hey, it's Alvin trying to keep CSing at their turret. They are ahead despite being shoved in a little bit, so all's looking well for blue side. Rumble picks up his Haunting guys. That is going to be a pretty important power spike, and Hecarim, even though the Phage will give him additional movement speed, which gives him the additional burst of a little bit of damage, the Haunting guys is stronger overall for Rumble than the Phage will be, because you really want the burst from the Sheen to be able to poke Rumble down in that lane. Now they're just continuing to wave clear. Echo still knows that Lux is not coming over for this blue buff because he does have pretty decent wards. Gonna be trying to steal that. A nice job. Oh wait, I am completely confused right now. I'm sorry, it's a little tiring, but Echo just gonna give that to Lux. He's on the same team. What am I saying, friends? So that does go over to Lux. It's gonna be very important because she's not really finished her Morello's, which looks like she might be going for there. Morello's gonna be kind of interesting. A lot of people go for the Chalice of Harmony on Lux just because so you can continue to spam spells from such a distance, and her spell costs are decently high, but she has blue buff, so she's going to be fairly fine for now. And the Nightcrawler again in the top side. He's been constantly ganking non-stop. Evelynn has a bit of a CS lead, but that only transitions into 200 gold item lead. See if she's actually able to match again. This is another 2v2. Evelyn gonna want to go in at the same time as Vom here, though. And Vom actually goes in very aggressively. Here comes the Nightcrawler again. But now the Hecarim ultimate's out of there, and Electric is left to die. This is happening over and over. Rumble's 4-2-1. Inside does get his level 6 ultimate, so he's going to be able to slowly poke Lux out of this lane. But if Lux is able to land some of her Lucent Singularities, she might be able to trade back a little, and that's exactly what we're seeing. There's such a heavy focus on the top lane. Now, I really want to see Gr8B8M8 go for some dragons. Because you have this Rumble who is... looks like he's building toward a... well, he just got a Seeker's Armguard for the Zanya's Hourglass, but... I don't think the Blasting Wand builds into anything but a Void Staff, so it might be just going for really early penetration. It's interesting that he went for that instead of just finishing his boots into Sorcerer's Shoes. But he does get that nonetheless. It will be decent against people. No MR. Actually, Speedy Turtle flashes for a lick and forces the ultimate out of Hey, It's Alvin. They do get that gank pressure off. And are they going to rotate this into a dragon? They do not have Rumble's teleport since he just went to the top side, which I think is a little bit of a mistake. I think you want to save that teleport for Rumble so you can really force some of these fights because you are so strong here on Rumble. And now Nightcrawler, speaking of being strong, just autoing attack. Kog'Maw, a great stun, does hide. Kog'Maw does not really see that before it goes out. Lux's ultimate doesn't really land. And a flash kill onto Kog'Maw, uses his ultimate to get back out of there. Echo with the Lux and Tom Kench making some plays happen. And now you can see Gank by Vom even has the red buff, so he's going to be completely bullying Vom in this lane. And he gets some of those harpoon cannons out to be able to continue to harass Vom using his own shield to mitigate some of that turret damage. This is looking pretty rough for Hecarim, but he's just still only down by 10 CS, so it's not the worst of things. But now Jinx is actually taking so much harass from the minion wave, even though they are matched in items. Jinx got the worst end of that deal for sure. However, she is just going to go back now. Has 1,800 gold. So, oh man, actually Rumble's going in. The Vom instantly ultimates out before Gank Bomb can even flash in. A good roam by Electric. Knew that Gank Bomb wanted to get aggressive here, but Megalomax follows through this time. Comes up with her top laner and secures the kill. They're going to get this turret, and that is going to be even more difficult for Evelyn, who, even though she keeps trying this top lane, they keep getting out-ganked by Mom. Surprise, surprise. On top of that, the bottom side is losing out in pressure and giving up that dragon. Are they going to be able to contest this? Kog'Maw's not really at a very strong state here, but he could harass with his ultimate, and they're actually going to call this off right now. The Lux could have continued to roam down, but I guess they didn't really know exactly where Evelyn was. So they did get the top lane turret, and not getting punished for that is really all you can ask for. So, the blue buff is going to go to Kog'Maw, even though he has his tier of the goddess. That's at 271 stacks right quick. Or right now, I should say. And because bottom lane was pretty indecisive about doing Dragon, then canceling it, that means that actually Fiancin is going to be able to get the turret. They do pick that up for completely free, and just getting punished for the indecision from that shot calling. Jinx gonna go back now. You don't want Hey It's Alvin to go back as well immediately. Here comes the Ashe ultimate. It does actually hit Electric, not their mid laner, but are they gonna be able to finish it off anyways? Yes. Thresh gonna have to use his W to finish that one up, and they almost kill Lux, but not quite. A great Rumble ultimate equalizer comes through in that choke point. He's already finished the Leandry's Torment, and it looks like the Leandry's does build out of the Blasting Wand. I thought that was one of the ones that got upgraded to the needlessly over large rod. So I apologize for that bit of confusion, but that is another set of kills for the blue team. They're going to get the mid lane pressure off of this. Really nice roam from the Rumble, knowing that he is just so strong right now. Ganked by Mom, used that bathroom time to his advantage, making sure he was calm to whoop some butt while he was cleansing his own. And that does lead into a dragon, because the red team really can't do anything about this. Rumble is so strong. Staying around this bush is hurting him. And Hecarim forced to go for an early Spectre's Call instead of finishing his Triforce, just because he needs to have some sort of presence in these team fights, but they don't even want to engage. They're just going to back off, accept the fact that they lost Dragon, and maybe rotate down bottom. But Ashe is going back right now. Yeah, I do want to point out that this pink ward is still here from about 5 minutes into the game, and I really love the fact that red team did just abuse how all of Gr8B8M8 went back there at the same time. They are able to group and get deep wards into the enemy jungle. And, Insight actually walks downward, going to be able to dodge out the final spark. He still gets very chunked out, though. He has not finished his Luden's Echo because he did go for that tier first. And Lux did go for the Athens in the beginning. She did start with the Phoenix Codex instead of the Chalice, so I guess she just wasn't really afraid of Kog'Maw's early pressure, because Kog'Maw really doesn't have that much early pressure. So does build that Phoenix Codex into the Athens regardless, and Echo actually going for a Nashor's Tooth. Now, that's not really an item I've seen on Echo very much before, but it can't really argue against it. He does scale very well with attack speed because he can proc his third hit that much more often, and he is a spellcaster that auto attacks very frequently. Now, Hecarim is still even in CS. Obviously, Rumble very far ahead with the kills. He's actually over 2,000 gold ahead, and Rumble, it does steal that red buff, so adding insult to injury, GBM. Nightcrawler giving him props. Rumble is completely taking over the game so far. It's just a matter of time before before blue team decides to fight again. Dragon isn't really up, but all they want to do is try to shove out that turret so they can force red team to split into different sides of the map. And if they try to answer Rumble in one of the lanes, then it's going to be pretty bad for them. Bottom lane turret is still up on the red side, so it looks like all of Gr8B8M8 is going to be walking down there. I want to see them stick together and be able to ward through this, because if you have Rumble, Lux, and Echo walking together in a group, nobody is going to touch that. They do get one ward out over there, but that doesn't really spot much map movements until Evelyn decides to clear the camp. So they're going to be trying to siege this turret. They're going to be trying to siege this turret, and Lux does get one cheeky ward in there. And yeah, Rumble staying in the mid lane. A bit of indecision coming out from the red side. Unfortunately, they don't really do anything in response until the turret's already destroyed. They're trying to ping mid lane now. And Tom Kent is the only one here, actually, so I don't think blue team's going to really be able to defend it, but they're just going for the inner turret. This is not, that's not a trade you really want to make, and they do have the Kog'Maw in their sights, but just walks away, being able to dodge that arrow, and that's going to force the rest of red team to go back. Jinx seeing if she can continue in this lane to try to get the inner turret in response. Kog'Maw is there to wave clear with his finished Luden's Echo. If he's able to clear these waves, they might be able to pick up another inner turret in response. Where is Rumble, though? He's coming back to the mid lane, so Jinx going to try to burst this down, but an Eagle Order comes out instantly. Fionson forced to burn his heal, and ganked by Mom. Picks up the kill with the help of the Nightcrawler. So I think Jinx is just feeling a little desperate here, because they know how much of a deficit their top laner's in, and especially when you're with a carry top laner like Hecarim, you really need him to farm up before you can really be useful in the team fights. So They want to try to keep Rumble down or get Hecarim gold where they can, which is why they decide to go for that risky steal in the mid lane, but a good response by Echo. Even though a couple of those paths were warded, it did not make a difference, and they get another turret in response to that. Kog'Maw was not able to wave clear, so they're just going to continue to rotate around the map, and Dragon's up in 1 minute. All they have to do is keep pressure in these lanes, put up the ward coverage. I would rather see them switch some of these out for upgraded sweeping lenses, but looks like Ashe will go back right now. The rest of the team doesn't really want to go back in the same time because that will give Red Side an opportunity to try to get back, but NeverLucky not even going to ward up that dragon up in 45 seconds, so guess they're a little bit afraid of the face check. Evelyn should try to do that herself, though. And they actually ward up the Baron entrance, so that just shows you the mindset that this team is in right now. They think they are really far behind, and honestly, I mean, they are. They're down 6,000 gold at 20 minutes, but you could have put a little more deep wards around that dragon area. And right now, pretty much blue team just wants to try to play the waiting game, get Hecarim a little more farmed up. He has finished his Trinity Force, so he'll be a little more relevant in these fights. Try to use Kog'Maw and Jinx to wave clear, and you only have one inner turret left, but honestly, you don't have to try to fight these dragons. If you face check into the Ashe Lux into Tahm Kench, that's just going to be bad news for you. They're doing exactly that, however, unfortunately. Here comes the Asho! Good cleanse out from Kog'Maw, so they burn the Ashe ultimate for a summoner spell, but actually here comes Lux with a great flank! Oh, hey, Talvin goes down! Unfortunately, they are trying not to let blue team get any dragons, but they just simply don't have the strength right now to even contest this. They just want to try to keep their lane shoved out, because even though they are really far behind, the Baron still will do decent amount of damage to Gr8B8M8. They don't really have any main tanks. So, oh man, Lux catching out 2 people, though the equalizer actually doesn't hit anybody. But she did not need that to kill off Kog'Maw. This might mean that they might go for Baron. Actually, Speedy Turtle not really communicating with his team. Burns his exhaust really for nothing, but Gr8B8M8 going to continue to snuff out some of this ward coverage. With Ashe on the bottom side, they can't really go for the Baron yet. They're just going to give that farm over to her, because they know that NeverLucky is really not strong enough to do Baron at this point in the game, especially with Evelyn that low. Watch out there, buddy. Okay, Smite does come out to heal her a little bit, and all of blue team is going back to buy now. So the Nash's Tooth is done for Echo. That does give him a little bit more damage in these fights, and because he is ahead, he can get away with that a little bit. I do want to see him build a little more health. I think he's going to start going for that Aegis of the Legion for that Kog'Maw poke, and trying to skill that with his Cinderhulk right now, because he doesn't really have any health items, even a Sight Stone. So just going to be building into the Aegis, which is pretty fine. His team does need some magic resist, but with the amount of wards that blue team has been putting out at every corner, it's going to be really difficult for NeverLucky to get a good flank off. Speedy Turtle saying, "Get in my belly!" And that's going to be the jungler down. They're just going to rush for the Baron. Everyone on the team did just go back, so they're able to tank it a little bit better now. They're a little higher level, and Insight going to try to poke with the Kog'Maw. At least he is one of the best poking champions in the game if they can try to do this. The Nightcrawler does still get hit by that, but Lux catches out that Void monster. Speedy Turtle does go down to the Jinx. He was not able to really pop his gray health, but GBM, so much damage. He actually Nightcrawler flashes forward and ults instantly. Really nice job doing that before he died, because he was at pretty much no health that whole time. They get the Baron buff. This is going to be really dangerous. Rumble is not a champion known for his ability to 1v1 in the split push, but when you're 10, 2, and 3, like ganked by Mom, you can do whatever the heck you want. Is Lux gonna pick up that kill? No! 10 health, 9 health! Oh man, Final Spike doesn't quite hit. They're actually gonna continue onto this inhibitor turret. I think they want to get out of there because Kog'Maw's starting to hurt a little bit. He's building toward that Seraph's. He almost has the full stacks of his tier for his Archangels, so gonna see if we can stop those ports, but even Kog'Maw is not level 16. Well, nobody's really level 16 in the game, but he can't be that annoying until he does get that rank 3 ultimate. So blue team playing this win out so well, rotating as a group, forcing the fights with your Lux in particular has done a really good job at catching people with her light bindings, and then Rumble always there to follow up with his equalizer. Last fight, the equalizer, or the one fight where the equalizer kind of didn't really hit anything, didn't matter because he can still jump forward and get some of that, but actually Enchanted Crystal Arrow goes out and hits Insight. That cleanse has been so useful. I questioned it a little bit in pick ban at first, but I really have to eat my words because that has really saved him in this game. And unfortunately, it might not be enough, but at least he has been able to stave off a few of the deaths. Although he is 1-4 right now, which is not the ideal situation by any means. Ganked my Mom just using the Baron minions to try and take down the turret. This is pretty much exactly what you want to do with a 4-1 split push composition. You can continue to shove these Baron minions in, and Kog'Maw will have some difficulty killing all of them. Once you back up, you can even set wards in the jungle, and from the mid lane you can rotate into the Dragon or Baron. Obviously they already have the Baron buff, but going back into the Dragon in 50 seconds would be very useful as well. And now Valm is trying to defend as best he can, but a hook lands on the Max Climax. Oh no, sorry, Mech Climax. Mechlamax. They don't really follow through on that. They're just going to continue to siege the turret. Nightcrawler uses the parallel convergence for a shield, and they stop. Actually, Insight got really low there, so again, Speedy Turtle going in pretty aggressively without really the backup of his team, so he might want to let them know that he's doing that. The Jinx ultimate not quite finding Echo. But Lux actually goes in for a cheeky little last hit. Here comes Valm. For once, Rumble's not in this fight. The Onslaught of Shadows doesn't really knock Psycho Bear back into the team. They're going to try to continue on this one, but the closer they get, the more dangerous it is. Here's Rumble. He is legendary. They chased a little too far there, and here comes the Tahm Kench ultimate. He's going to be able to lock anyone up. Unfortunately, no one on his team is there. This is the third time this game that Tahm Kench has gone in without the support of his team. But they are so far ahead, it doesn't really matter. A double kill coming out for Mechlamax. Not Max Climax, I'm sorry, but ganked by Mom has a 6-to-1 kill ratio. 8-to-1, 8.5-to-1 if you count assists. Just performing hugely there, even though he wasn't in that original fight. A great equalizer in that choke point really sealed the deal for them. And Astros have a lot of times been negated. I gotta say, she's a bit of a secret agent there, landing all of her arrows though. 007. She likes her arrows shaken, not stirred. Electric, sadly, gonna try to go out into his own jungle, but Evelyn's a champion that actually falls off a lot in terms of damage, especially when you go for the Cinder Hulk. Actually, she did not go Cinder Hulk. That says Runeglaive. She went for the blue one. And actually, they surrender. So, realizing that they are 12,000 gold down, 23-4. NeverLucky, staying true to their name. Unfortunately, going against the 12-2 Rumble is a huge pit you pretty much have to try to climb out of, but they'd rather just move on to the next game, take this one as it is, and that does mean that Gr8B8M8 becomes 3-2, whereas NeverLucky becomes 2-3. So that game might have been So that game might actually be the determining factor to see who gets out of groups. I don't know exactly how the groups are going to separate when it comes to the playoff stage, but we'll see if that makes a difference. That certainly should affect the seeding here. And let me switch the view, actually, because still on the black screen for you guys. But unfortunately, blue team really couldn't do much after Heckram got behind, because you can't really engage with your Evelyn when you don't have proper vision control. And yeah, just really good Rumble ultimates for the most part. Well, he did by far the most damage in that game, and shout out to Kog'Maw, he did pretty decent, but it was not enough to carry the game. Really good counter ganks by the Echo, or positioning by the Echo. They weren't all, actually a lot of them weren't even counter ganks, but Echo and Rumble were always there to go in at the same time, whereas a couple times Heckram and Evelyn not really on the same page for those. So, I don't know if I'm going to be doing another one. I believe Volum is doing their last game of the tournament. My voice is pretty shot, and I'm fairly tired. So I think I might. I think I might just take a break and do some homework here, because it is pretty late in terms of well, just in terms of getting to homework. I'll do a coin toss for you guys. And this is the last coin toss I did. I'll just coin toss. Alrighty, let's do coin flip again. And it is tails. So, sorry, Anchi, but you guys do not have the decision. Bench Anchi for a better coin caller, I guess. Alright, well, I hope you guys enjoyed that game. That was a pretty one-sided match, but we did see Gr8B8M8 actually pretty much close it out fairly well in an impressive manner. Give this man some game time. Yeah. Does mean this is the last week of the group stage, and next week we'll be getting into we'll be getting into the playoff rounds. I have to let's be sure to let you guys know the exact format for that on the group page. But thanks for watching, everyone, and I'll